Hello, welcome back. Welcome back. Blockchain, what is it? Where is it? Also, what time is cake cutting? The next session is a topic that has come up in almost every other panel so far. People have been talking about crypto like it's a suspicious mole that you find on your arm. I'll wait and see if I have to do something about this now. Ultimately, and personally, as the real creator of Bitcoin, I'm deeply interested in seeing how this plays out. So please join me in welcoming on our panelist to discuss the blockchain and cryptocurrency boom. We have with us today Ashish Singhal, the founder and CEO of CoinSwitch, Akshay, the advisor for Solana Foundation, Sumit Gupta, co-founder and CEO of coindcx, Jaynti, Kanani, co-founder and CEO of Polygon, and Tanmay Bhat, who needs no introduction. Tanmay, take it.
Okay, just to clarify, I am the creator of Bitcoin and not.
No. We talked about it's actually me. Okay, let's take this offline. Okay, we'll circle back to this.
Hey guys, welcome to this panel. Crypto kya hai? Given that it's come up in every conversation in this panel, and the fact that we have this panel at this event tells you just how big the demand for a conversation around crypto is. And the fact that I'm here at this panel tells you how short the supply for a conversation around crypto is. Just want to tell the panelists that all of you are muted, so please feel free to unmute. And I agree with a lot of tweets asking what the hell I'm doing at this panel, which is why we have a panel of folks who actually are in the world of crypto who would be able to answer. So let's just begin, right? Let's just get into it. First, to understand, I don't want to understand in depth of what is crypto. First, can you guys tell me why is crypto important to India in the first case? Because I consume no knowledge unless it is directly beneficial to me and my life. So I would want to throw this to the panel. Why is crypto important for India? I can start with anybody. Feel free to jump in. And if everyone's too shy, then Akshay, I know you have an answer prepared, so go for it.
So yes, Akshay, you want to take it up?
No, go for it, Sumit.
Okay, okay. So the way we see crypto is, I think crypto is fundamentally pure technology driven, and crypto important thing that you need is that internet and people who can build on top of internet. And India has both. India has all the right ingredients in place to lead the crypto innovation, crypto wave, and that's why India is the country which deserves to win in this. And once regulated, you will see a lot of startups, a lot of entrepreneurs venturing into this, and it's going to create a lot of companies, a lot of wealth creation opportunity for Indian youth. So across the board, I see India benefiting a lot out of this crypto wave, and it's already happening. A lot of people in India who are creating a lot of wealth, financial freedom, investing into crypto, making lots of wealth for themselves, not just on the wealth side, but also starting up companies in this space. I think there's a lot more potential for India to win in this.
I think Sumit has spoken to so many regulators and media that this is Sumit's permanent face. Sumit is like, I'm always going to give this answer. Sumit, why is crypto important to India? I'm going to throw it. Jaynti, you seem like you wanted to say something.
Yeah. So, I have been in this space since long, like 2017. And there was tweets going around few days back. It says cool kids versus nerd kids. I don't know if you've seen that, but it says, from in the past, in 90s, 20th centuries, etc., like in Silicon Valley and everywhere, there are two kind of kids, like cool kids in colleges and there are nerds, right? So always cool kids and nerds kids together create something, multiple companies if you see, because nerds are kind of very shy and on the desk they get this code and everything, and cool kids go out there, do the business, bring business to the world, to the company, right? And this crypto basically changes that particularly, right? What it does is that it gives power back to the nerds, right? And they can attract capital, right? Sitting anywhere. You can be anonymous, you can be anywhere in the world, right? Attract the investment, build something, and put it out there into the world, right? And India is basically, you see, right? India is full of nerd people, right? Seriously, I mean, if you see that, IT industry is booming in India. It's just kind of everyone outside India, just putting the code, outsourcing to India,
Hmm.
right? People are building, everything is there. But before the problem was there, India doesn't never had a good money capital to build something, and crypto actually changed that a lot, right? Now, like, if you can raise money from India, right, anywhere, if you're building something, you can
Global
get an
capital.
investment from outside, right, and build that without living in India. And the thing is that US was kind of leading into the for the startup ecosystem, Silicon Valley, etc. China was leading manufacturing, but crypto is just one thing India can take the lead. I think Balaji also tweeted about that. India should take the lead on crypto side of things. Uh, our talent is there, money is flowing around on the
So yeah,
crypto. So I think we are there, kind of. No, I think that's a
yeah. I
yeah.
really appreciate you not looking at me accusatorily while talking about cool kids, Jaynti. I appreciate that.
No, you're both, so that's fine.
Yeah.
Akshay and Ashish, crypto
So I'll
important
just
to
add, yeah. So I'll just add a couple of more points. Obviously, is already well said. But if any Indian wants to start a business today, what is his first step? Is to probably book a space on Amazon
you? Oh, I was
as
going
a
to
server.
raise $10 million, then figure out a product.
Yes, right. So, and that 10 million, most of it for any startup, any new business goes to online, which again goes to Amazon, Google, Microsoft of the worlds. Then to do your product marketing, it goes to Facebook and Google again, right? So we already missed out on Internet 1.0, where all the big companies now comes from the West. What crypto provides us an opportunity is to build in India from India, dominating the world. In the next 5 years, some of the amazing companies would be built on blockchain. The products that you would be using would be built in India, and India would hopefully come from a net importer of tech to the net exporter of tech. And that is why crypto is so essential for India and Indians to
Ashish,
give
do you
power
have a
back.
green flag in the background somewhere that you want to wave at the end?
Not right now.
I'm
So
one step away from that.
yes. So I think that's why it is so important for India. We already have the tech talent. We already have the smarts. Today, a lot of Indians are running the big multinational
Yeah.
companies.
We are number
The
one,
idea is
being number two.
so so the idea is that in the next 5 years, we not only build companies which are amazing and doing work for India, but are global giants and are built on blockchain and become the net exporter of technology in itself.
If you see, Ashish's company is the first one get funded by the A16Z, by the way, right? So that was not possible before. For us, Polygon, Coinbase, Binance, like anyone can kind of fund any companies, anywhere in the world. It's a very powerful thing.
Yep.
Akshay, I've heard you use the phrase skyhook a lot when this question is asked. Could you elaborate on what you meant by crypto is a skyhook for Indians? You're muted.
Yeah, I mean, I think it lines up with what Jayanti said, and in terms of opportunity, right? Which is the ability to, if you wanted to go, find a way to, what is the skyhook for Indians? It's a career in technology in Silicon Valley, or which basically meant you had to find a way to get an H-1B visa, go to the US, get a job there, work your way up a company. That was escape velocity, right? In technology. Then in the last 10 years, of course, we had our own wave of startups and companies being built here. And that was kind of escape velocity. But
Now
now
it's changed.
you
Now
can
its
just,
velocity is wait to see if government regulates. If not, go to Dubai and then you get the skyhook.
now I think you can just download a MetaMask wallet, right, onto your browser instead of getting an H-1B visa, and you can start earning in the equivalent currency of US dollars or even harder currency, right? You start earning in the tokens of projects that you believe in that may go up a 10x, or that at least you get rewarded for your work in the ownership of these companies, which is really how you made wealth in the US, right? And recently in India. And so unless we find a way for people to own a piece of the networks and companies they're building at scale were not going to be able to create wealth. Now you can download a wallet extension on your browser and find a way to own a piece of a network, right? I think I remember when we interviewed Jaynti and Sandeep, they were telling us that one of either their CA or their landlord, I can't remember which one, accepted, I think, Matic tokens back in the day,
yeah.
and held on to it and as payment. And like, imagine the risk that they took, right? And then, of course, like that did really well. And similarly, a lot of the early employees or a lot of the early contributors to the projects that did really well also benefited from the success. So I think that the fact that location is irrelevant to get that upside is pretty unique.
So broadly, I think everyone's bullish on Indian talent and global capital, right? Like, to summarize, that I think is the big crypto advantage. Now, someone in the chat mentioned excited about DeFi. Can you, if I'm a pleb, all right, which I am, can you guys elaborate on what is DeFi and why is it relevant for the average consumer? I'll throw it open to Sumit first. Sumit.
Sure. So, Tanmay, I think as we saw the transition from Web 1.0 to Web 2.0 and now Web 3.0, right? DeFi is just in terms of the financial traditional finance, there has not been much innovation that has happened. And again, from my limited understanding, those are the legacy systems that are there. DeFi is just making it a level playing field for everyone to innovate on the financial sector. If someone in Africa does not have access to financial services now, everyone has the, like, code does not distinguish one individual from the other, and everyone is in the level playing field. And now financial services are available to everyone across the world. And this is basically, economy runs on how you pay and how you borrow money. So if both of these things are solved, economy can move faster, and it is not a zero-sum game. It will just result in positive wealth creation everywhere, and DeFi is just enabling that.
So DeFi is essentially financial services, right? Like crypto financial services.
Accessible to everyone because banks, why would bank serve someone who is earning 100 rupees a day or 1,000 rupees, in a month? They have no incentive. Their incentive is always aligned to serving someone who can contribute to their top line revenues. But crypto does not discriminate.
Jaynti?
In that regard.
Muted?
Yeah, I think I agree with others here that for example, again, like Twitter, people are talking about, like, someone was saying why I should use DeFi, where I can just get the loan online on some platform, and they argued about that, and one said it takes me like 5 seconds on our way to take the loan, and for you it will take multiple forms, multiple things to get the loan, right? I think this is one kind of very powerful thing. And the second thing is that I just want to mention one company here, like, which are attracting the capital from outside and giving it to SMEs in India, right? In fiat, by the way. So that will make the trade finance very easy, and the interest rate very low for the SMEs. If you don't have capital, if you have a limited capital, then your interest will be high always, right? Obviously, this is a simple rule. But if you also can attract the capital from outside India, from globally, and kind of funnel into the SMEs for the loans and everything, the interest will be very low, and it will also benefit to SMEs and the investors, both the side. So I think only DeFi can provide those things on blockchain. Yeah.
Sumit, you mentioned Web 3.0, right? So I want to throw this to Akshay and then Ashish. Akshay, I read a quote that said Web 1 was read only, Web 2 was read and write, and Web 3 is read, write, and own. What does this even mean? You're muted.
Yeah. I mean, look, I think here's my interpretation of that tweet. I've seen this as well. I think Ishita from Mesari was the one who drafted that, and that's a good way to think about it, right? And which is, Web 1 was read only, where you could, there were blogs and things on the internet that you would read, and there were curated RSS feeds, things like this. And as a user, you're really just reading from the internet. Web 2 was read and write. So you could write, this is like the interactive web that we know of, which is, Facebook, you can publish, or Facebook or Twitter and all these, social media companies where you can publish content, whether it's written content or, videos or audios or YouTube, right? Where a whole bunch of creators were born, except so you could write as well, right, into them. And Web 3 is read, write, and own, where because in Web 2, if you publish any content, you didn't really own it. The platform owned it. Now you can, own the piece of content or, your contribution to the network. I'm sure, Tanmay, you have contributed to the growth of Instagram and YouTube pretty non-linearly in India, but you didn't get to enjoy any of that.
Let's not forget.
Yeah. And so you didn't really get to enjoy any of the upside. But in a Web3 world, your contributions are rewarded directly with the ownership of the network, and you could mint an NFT of a video eventually on Polygon or on Solana or any of the execution layers available, and own a piece of that, and own that, right, and the rights to that. So that's, I think, what that quote means.
If there's this Web3 has become this meme, which is, I'm very thankful for it, because crypto sounds too much like a scam. And thanks to Chris Dixon, we're all like Web3, right? I want to know from the panel, why is Web3 that much better than Web2? Outside of 3 is greater than 2. What is one definitive use case that makes Web3, the delta is far higher, right? Because I don't think we're going to go, it's not going to be overnight, like tomorrow we're in Web3, right? Like there's going to be a transition, but I'm trying to find the definitive use cases for it. If anyone feel free to jump in, Ashish.
Yeah, sure. So I think the major difference is what you just said, right? Owning something. So let's take an example, right? Your driver license was built, you're driving, somebody would stop you. You have to physically show him your driving license, and then he will let you pass, right? But in the new Web3, today you don't use your driving license just for that. You use it for your identity. You use it for your ownership itself. So Web3 would create your driving license probably as an NFT, and you would use it as a proof of ownership across. Today, what has happened in the Web 2.0, although we have access to the internet, we can say what we want on the internet. We can see that, all of you talk about Twitter so much.
Yes.
But what has changed is that data has become really important. Now, whatever you do online, data is still owned by the companies that you are producing that content on, right? And data has become the new oil. Now, government has to now put in restrictions to say that, oh, you can't utilize this data for X, for Y, for these companies. European laws, even Indian laws are now evolving to restrict the data usage. In crypto, that data usage is given to the user by default. User chooses when any application can use his data, how to use that data, and when to take that data back from that particular application, right? So that is the evolution which is happening from Web 2 to Web 3.0, where user is at the center of it. User decide what he wants to do, when he wants to do, and how he wants to do it, right? And it's decentralized, so no single entity is kind of controlling the overall ecosystem per se. And that is a stark difference between the Web 2 and 3.0.
Jaynti, one definitive use case of Web3 that's a large enough delta, better than Web2, something that you foresee would be here soon?
Yeah, I think we have been seeing that, yeah. So the payments and everything is already there. Multiple companies like Stripe is also integrating the payments directly into their APIs, right? So I think that is there. It will also start. It will start with a simple payments or simple country to country payment, maybe settlement. You can see, and then slowly, I think this trade finance is there, and multiple other things. And particularly, I'm seeing the gaming uh, boom, and always gamers are always very tech savvy, or I would say open to new experiments. And I'm seeing this play to one thing would be the good start to jump into the crypto Web3, I would say. Yeah.
Got it. Akshay, anything to add to this?
Nope.
No. Okay. I want to talk about regulations now, right? Because I was watching chat and a bunch of people were asking about it. So there's been some leaks about, oh, maybe there's no ban, it's getting regulated. I want to ask the exchange founders, as well as you, Akshay. Akshay did policy work at Uber, right? You headed policy at Uber. What would be the line between good regulation and over-regulation? I want to know your opinion on this. Ashish, Sumit, Akshay, feel free to jump in, whoever wants to.
So,
good
before
regulation and over-regulation. What would be
Sure. So before regulation, we need to understand what we are regulating, right? So crypto is very wide. Crypto can be used as a currency. Crypto could be used as a infrastructure, security, utility, or as an asset class itself. So what we are trying to say here is that the asset class use case is something that needs innovation in India. And we need positive regulations to boost innovation in the crypto space so that India could lead the way forward. There has to be restrictions on the currency use case. India is a sovereign nation. RBI needs to have control of the currencies, and every one of us agrees to that 100%, right? So what we are talking about here is the regulation of the asset class. Now coming to what is an over-regulation and what is a good regulation. I think what EU has done is quite amazing. How they have classified different use cases of crypto and said what are the different regulations can be put in place. Exchanges need to have licensing, making sure that users are educated correctly. They should know what they are getting into because they're putting hard-earned money into the ecosystem, while also allowing developers to still continue building this technology without much of the overlay from the government itself, right? So I think the definition, the line could be from use case to use case. If it is about the investment class, then all the investor protection need to be put in place. But when it's come to innovation, this technology is evolving every single day. So we should give a bit of free hand into let this grow and innovate when a use case becomes big enough to be able to, for us to understand and then put rules and restrictions around it to be able to figure out the right way for it to move forward.
Sumit?
Yep, I think Ashish very well covered it. On top of that, only thing that just want to highlight, and we have been sharing this with a lot of people, is that because this technology moves very fast, and it basically in general technology moves faster than the law. You can't just predict everything right now, right? You don't know what will come up 2 years down the line or what will come up 5 years down the line. We didn't know like NFT is going to be that popular 2 years back. So it's important to have a very fluid and dynamic regulation so that it keeps on evolving as we discover more and more things and more use cases in this space. So this is basically will ensure that India continues to innovate in the space when we talk about regulation. So this is one point, and second is all the solutions are already out there. It's not something that we have to build something new. We can just borrow it from, like, as crypto as an asset class. This is something that is practically going very well with the government because it's not a threat, and then they don't want it to become a legal tender, which is concerning to them. So even if crypto as an asset class, right, there are already laid out frameworks which can be borrowed as it is and can be applied, which is the first step. And this is not very well, and I think we need to take baby steps. Maybe there's just foot in the door, and then we will slowly understand, government will slowly understand more and then regulate it gradually. That is the more practical approach, other than just regulating it completely end to end. We should not expect government to just understand what will happen in the future and just regulate it today.
Akshay, you've seen this play out with Uber before. Can you elaborate on what you think this is going to play out as?
Yeah. So actually, we did a bunch of work even in the crypto stuff earlier this year, and I think there's a couple of common themes, right? Which is, there is a point. Regulation is one of those things where the RBI or like the SEBI or even the transport department, what do they have in common, right? They're these enforcement agencies that are meant to go after people who violate the law in a very public way so that everybody else doesn't do it, right? So they have capacity to go after one or two cabs on the street that are violating the law, or what they believe is the law, right? Or one or two companies that may be issuing securities, right? But what happens when you have like technology scale, the use case that everybody has been, there's been a thirst for, where either people get transportation on demand or people get to own a piece of the network, use the internet in a way that they could not use before, is you get 40,000 Uber cars on the street, right? You get 10 million crypto holders in the country, right? In a world like this, where technology is allowing for scale, it's just it's impossible to contemplate bans, right? Because people are just going to go around it. And so actually the prudent solution is to regulate it in a way that you can encourage the growth of this without hampering what is going to be a multi-trillion-dollar industry. It's already $2 trillion, right? This industry. And if it is true that nerds are going to attract capital and engineers are going to be at the forefront of this, then India is at the forefront of open source contribution in the world, right? So when some behavior scales, it is not feasible to ban it. We have to incorporate it in society. What is society? Society is human beings at scale. So if there are 10 million crypto holders, that is part of society, right? And the law has to, kind of accommodate for that. So I think that's one thing. The second, I'm optimistic that the fact that now I don't think that the RBI was fully considerate, and I can say this, the exchange founders cannot. So, this is my personal opinion. I don't think the RBI is a wholesome regulator, right? They're looking at a narrow set of financial regulations to apply, whereas crypto affects everything, technology, society, things like this. And so when they tried to ban it, the Supreme Court struck it down, and clearly the RBI was not the best regulator for this. The fact that now there is contemplation of the SEBI being a regulator, which is a much better outcome for everybody involved, because they're much more competent in this area, with some oversight from the central government, allows you to have some sort of a regulatory competition, which is always good, right? And so it's places when regulations become monopolies.
Competition is always good.
Yes, because you can have several institutions involved in the conversation, right? You have the RBI, you have the SEBI, and maybe even the central government, depending on what the bill says, involved in the conversation, which means they will be able to represent interests of all sections of society in that room, as opposed to just, this decision being made by one regulator. So I think that that we will start to see that happen, where financial regulations will be a shared responsibility of the RBI and the SEBI, and maybe even parts of the central government, which is very, very healthy, right? And I'll add one last point here, which is that if you ban, right, like in a world where you ban Ola or Uber, okay, fine, what do? You take an auto, or you buy your own car or your own bike, whatever, okay? In a place where you ban crypto, people will just take a flight and leave the country, right? Like that's the response to this. So I'm really glad that the government has stepped in to make a much better decision here of regularizing this. And the central government is much more level-headed about this. People may have criticisms otherwise, but I think all said and done, they've shown incredible leadership at a time when the entire country, all the entrepreneurs in the entire country asked for it. So I think I'm optimistic.
So मैं बेचूं नहीं, basically सब कुछ नहीं बेचूं.
Why don't we do a not financial advice section?
I understand the chat here. I'm just asking what the people are thinking. All right, I'm here for the people. All right, so we've hit Web3, we've hit regulations, we've spoken about DeFi, we've spoken about the role India will play. What keyword am I missing to make this panel complete? I know, Metaverse. I'm going to come to you, Jaynti. What the hell is this? Why does Mark Zuckerberg care? What have we done? We've memed something into existence, or was it always there? Please explain to us.
I think everyone knows, Metaverse has a different definitions as per different people. Maybe it will be multiple metaverses. I think Mark also said the same, that everyone has their own view on metaverses. I think everyone now building the game, they're also calling themselves metaverse. But what I feel is that metaverse would be like there's one central chain, maybe Ethereum. It will be because I'm maybe biased, but I'm saying one chain will have all the assets on the chain, and people are building experience on top of that, and that the whole assets can be owned by people instead of one central company. So that I'm seeing as a metaverse, and then you can experience like Decentraland, Sandbox, and multiple other companies who are building the experiences on top of assets can have their own graphics, multiple other NFTs, and the music concert, and based on the brands and everything, right? On top of that, so I'm seeing that as a metaverse, maybe, but I don't know like what will be the metaverse in the future. But people are just kind of following the idea of metaverse and kind of creating and building to lead the whole community metaverse thing. Yeah, I think that's a yeah.
Actually, from all the demos of, Microsoft did a demo, Facebook did a demo, from all, at least from what we are projecting the metaverse to be, it sounds like a bad version of a Zoom call. Sounds like animated people in a room. Like, is this the case of, web, the flickers before the Instagrams? Like, is that what you guys think? I'm throwing this to Sumit, Ashish as well. Because what it seems like right now is, it's just going to be everyone with a VR headset, and we're going to be in this one room, and everyone will be badly animated, and there'll be spatial audio. Is that it? Is that the metaverse?
I think it's much beyond than that, and we have to understand that what COVID has shown us, right? That things can be done from home. Now going to office has become an option, right? It's not mandatory anymore. You know that things can be done from where you are. Today, probably you're not going to your office in Bangalore itself from your home. Tomorrow, maybe a meeting across the world. Sorry, I'm connected now. Yeah. So I was saying that, meeting across the world, say you're having a meeting in the US, is possible from India itself, right? So I think metaverse is the next version of it. Probably Ready Player One is the extreme example of a digital world where we don't live in the physical world and we only live in the digital world. But I think somewhere in between there would be a line where we will do some activities in the physical world, and there would be some activities which would mean more in the metaverse, or the digital world itself. Tech needs to evolve, AI, ML needs to evolve to a level where these experiences are much more immersive, right? Today, that's not. When you look at the demo, it feels like, cartoon players, like it feels like a game in itself, which probably you don't want to live in, but it will evolve over time. And crypto and blockchain has an amazing, platform to build these infrastructures on, like Jaynti mentioned. I disagree there a bit, where I don't believe there would be one chain, but there would be solutions where people even don't know what blockchains are underneath. People would be using very simple interfaces to go from one experience to another without worrying about what blockchain it is, what NFT it is, and all that, right? It would be a very seamless experience moving from one place to another and living your life to the fullest in both the physical and the digital world itself.
Sumit, 10 years later, would Shadi have happened in the metaverse?
Yeah, it's already happening. I was seeing a news where a couple got married in the metaverse. I was like, wow.
Oh,
It
man.
actually happened. Yeah. So I think a lot of that can be done even without. See, the way I see it is like, in the current world, we interact with a lot of these, assets, right? How can we? Again, this is my understanding. Like, people who are interacting in the current world and they have these virtual assets, digital assets, right? With crypto, you can just take it and live in a different world where you can play around and use these assets and interact with it. And now it is permissionless. Anyone can be a part of that. It's like a parallel world in itself, where people are using like whatever they are owning, which is completely digital, and they don't need to touch and feel it. It's like there. And then there is a possibility that a new economy or a new world will be created in the digital universe, and where people will be able to interact just like how they're interacting presently, right? So I think that's big very interesting. It
I'm
would
very
be.
hopeful one day. Gives me hope that one day I'll have a girlfriend in the metaverse. Maybe, who knows? Maybe. Anyway, but before we start wrapping up, right? Can someone tell me if we have time? Okay, anybody from the organizing team? Because I got a bunch of more questions. We're here at the Akshay and me are here at the Razorpay office. Razorpay, as you guys know, is a fintech company, and my understanding of fintech is just a bunch of graphic designers over a bank. So my question is, how can crypto, how can how can crypto make fintech companies not bank dependent? Because I've heard every fintech founder have some form of complaint about banks. How can crypto change this? How can crypto make fintech less dependent on banks?
Crypto exchanges are also dependent on banks, by the way.
Yeah.
So I think that's
Making
the fundamental why crypto started, right? Because we didn't want to depend on banks, and I think that is what blockchain is. If blockchain succeeds, then ultimately the role of the intermediaries would be very limited. Would maybe an on-chain, off-chain. When you are getting into that, say the metaverse, you probably require it only once, and then probably you don't need companies like I don't want to say it, but Razorpay or banks in itself, and probably you are in that digital world where things are seamless, things are much more
Please don't
transparent.
bump Ashish off yet if the organizers are listening. He will apologize later.
Okay. we'll know in a minute. So that's the point, right? And I think that's why blockchain and crypto exists, because the digital ecosystem doesn't need centralization, and centralization is what is slowing the tech down. And hopefully there would be a merge. I'm not saying banks would be removed altogether, but I'm saying banks has a role to play. But there is a larger ecosystem of fintech which would be built in, which would be very, very seamless, 24/7. I don't have to call someone and say they saying, "Oh, bank is we are close ho gayi branch, agle weekend Monday ko aana." Right? So I think those things would not happen, right? And it would be very, very seamless because everything would be digital.
Akshay, you had some opinion on this. Jaynti, you as well. How can crypto make?
I mean, I have multiple opinions here, but I don't want to say anything here. Um,
All
no,
right.
I'm just saying, I think people are moving. The fintech companies are also moving to crypto. We have seen that Stripe is also have their own crypto related thing, and we are talking with multiple people, other people as well in bank as well. So I think even banks don't like to work, even they are frustrated with themselves. And I think having crypto and blockchain in banks also can help, like uh, remove the legacy systems we have on payments in multiple places, right? So I think, yeah, I mean, yeah, that's it. That's the only thing I want to say. Yeah, thank
Cool.
you.
Before we wrap up, Akshay, I want to wrap up with there's a theory that you have very famously said it out loud, and the theory goes like this, which is that Dogecoin is going to bring about world peace. Right? This is the statement you have made. I want you to explain why.
I think we want our industry to be credible. This is where you start.
No, I would really like the answer that you gave. So Dogecoin is going to lead to world peace. Explain why.
Okay, let's see.
5
And
minutes.
Mongoose coin,
Alright.
there's a Mongoose coin as well.
Mongoose
I know.
coin.
Jayanti, we're here for, taking names of guys. Please don't go by it. This is just a joke, folks on the call.
But this is a very serious answer. Dogecoin will lead to world peace. Why?
Okay, let's see. Okay, look, over the last, if you look at, last 20, 30 years, the reason you're seeing, the stock market's always been going up, like there's so many startups. Where did all this capital come from, right? And it actually goes back to in 1980s. What happened was all these pension funds in the US and endowments, they needed to produce 7% returns, right? These pension funds to retire all the boomers in America, okay? When in 1984, I think maybe the 10-year, like if you gave your money to the government, a bond market, they would get like 14%. So they said, of course we can generate 7% because we'll just give the money to the government and we'll get that 7% interest. What has happened, however, is that interest rate has gone down and now you get like 1.5% or something like this when you give your money to the US government. So what do? You have to make up for that 5.5% difference, right? So people went out on the risk curve to make up for that difference. So they invested a bunch more in the stock market. They over allocated to risky niches like venture capital, which is why you got a massive number of venture. Anyone is a VC now. You go outside on the street and then you throw like a vest, a Patagonia vest, whoever it lands on, that's a VC, right? And that's happened in the last 10 years. Why? Well, because they had to over allocate to these niches to produce that 7% return. Now, it also produced a lot of good upside, right? Many more VC funds, many more startups. but not all of them were great, right? There are also a lot of mediocre VC funds, a lot of mediocre startups that may never actually see exit. And even the good ones got, one venture fund would do a Series A, somebody else would do Series C, then you'd do Series C. We have now gone to Series G, right? It's kind of like the private market. The companies are going public later and later and later, right? And what does that mean? Well, these VC funds that are marking up those deals, who are they getting the money from? The pension funds, the boomers, right? So actually, it's the boomers marking up those deals. And then when they eventually go public, who's buying them? All of us on this call, right? The millennials, right? So it's the boomers dumping their bags on the millennials when this happens, when there's no growth left, right? Now, and this is at a time of historic wealth inequality. If you just go on Google and say boomers, millennials wealth gap and go to Google Images, you'll see an image of how boomers own over 40-50% of the wealth and millennials own under like 2%, right? In that 2%, 48% is owned by one guy, right? This is Zuckerberg. So millennials have never had the opportunity to create wealth. Now, when this happens, in the last 10,000 years, there's a Stanford professor who studied history, you always get civil unrest and conflict, right? Because when you have this kind of wealth inequality, people don't have a meaningful way to form families and live their lives. So, that's why you have all this conversation of increased taxation and socialism and things like this. However, in the last 10 years, a bunch of millennials and Zoomers and these internet activists managed to meme, just with memes, $1 trillion asset into existence, right? With the genius of Satoshi Nakamoto, whoever he, she, or they are, right? And what we have seen now is institutional adoption is basically those same pension funds and institutions buying from millennials, redistributing wealth from boomers to millennials in the most peaceful way possible. So if Dogecoin manages to become a currency of the internet, it may not be such a bad thing. This is not advice to go buy Dogecoin. I'm just saying that if we were able to meme this into existence, everyone's hating on Dogecoin, and institutions were forced to buy it because it is the currency of the internet, that actually helps redistribute wealth between boomers and millennials peacefully, where historically it's always produced conflict. And therefore, Dogecoin can lead to world peace.
On that epic note, thank you very much for joining us. Would ask the organizers to take over. Thank you very much, Jaynti, for taking time out. Sumit, Ashish, thank you so much for taking time out. Akshay, I'm not going to thank you. Your time is not as valuable, and neither is mine. See you guys. Cheers.
See you guys.
Thank you. Thank you, Tanmay.
Bye.
Thank you all. Bye-bye.
You are in the camera. All right, everyone. That was it for that session, the penultimate session on crypto. I hope it answered all of the questions that could be answered and can currently be answered. Thank you all the panelists for taking the time and making the time. We have one last session remaining because here at FTX, we don't like to end things with a bang. We like to end things with a hair. So like last year, we have our final session be a session, and who is coming? I believe a motivational speaker is coming, so this probably won't be very good. Who is it? It's me. Okay, so the very last session is being conducted by me, and it will cover BNPL, MDR, and scalability, and several other acronyms I don't know the full forms of. So see you in 1 minute, where we can begin the final session and say goodbye to FTX 21.